Yes, people, what's going on? And welcome to a brand new show. It's the Club Calling, brought to you by Sky Bet. I'm really, really excited for this one. And remember, if you're watching this for the first time, it's because it's the first show and you can get involved. We're released every Thursday. Call-in shows will happen on Tuesday. So make sure you click in the link in the description to join our Discord channel and be in with a chance of appearing on the club. But like we said, this is your show. We want your calls. I'm really looking forward to this, lads.
Yeah, absolutely. It's great, isn't it? It's great to actually have a chat with some of the OGs.
As long as they don't slag me off, I'm just worried the first ever caller will be like Buvey's a knob. That's what I'm worried about.
Well,
I mean, there is a chance. I mean,
okay, I'm hoping
it might be me.
I'm hoping they're friendly. Yeah.
Okay, should we go straight to the lines?
This is the first ever call-in on the club.
Thanks to Sky Bet. Right, Tom, you are live on the club, sir.
Yo, yo.
How are you?
Yo.
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
Yeah, very well.
Good,
Thank
mate,
you so
good.
much for calling in. You're not going to call Buvey a knob, are you?
I'm not yet anyway.
Yeah, the night is young. I
Things
like
can
it.
change.
Yeah,
can come back.
the night is young. What's on your mind, Tom?
Well, Rory, I was more likely to call you a knob, to be fair. 'Cause
Yes.
The way you've been speaking about Spurs, it's just been killing me inside, man.
It's accurate, though. Even if it's offensive, it's accurate. Is that fair?
I mean, it's somewhat accurate. I just think you're putting way too much blast on Anne, to be honest.
I just don't think that's true. I can't believe he's still in a job. I'm not wrong here, am I, Booth?
I look at the starting 11, especially against Aston Villa in the league results. There's still so much talent there, mate. Son's still playing. I know the keeper's come in. He's been, I think, really poor. But the back line, this Bergval's still there. There's a lot
Can
of
I say
Do
quality.
you think
something
he should stay, Tom? Do you think he should stay?
I don't think he should stay by the end of the season. But the problem is that we've had so many better managers that have failed before him.
Just been launched out of 2 cup competitions in 3 days, and you're still okay with the manager.
But who are you going to replace him with though? Like, there's no one decent.
That should never
to
be the
replace
answer
him.
to keeping someone. I was about to defend you a bit, though, because one of the things that Rory and Buvey have said in the past before, especially Rory, is that you need to speak to the fans of a club to kind of know what the ownership are like. I remember when we used to criticise the Glazers a lot, and people would go, well, you've just bought Pogba for 80 million, or you've just bought Maguire for, and it's like, well, that's not the point. The owners aren't, running the football club in the way that we want them to. Is that what you're kind of getting at here, that it's down to the owners more than the manager? Or is it just because you feel like there isn't a better manager out there than Ange? Because I feel like there might be.
I think it's just down to the culture, to be honest, man. I mean, like, let's be real. Like, we crumble in big moments. We always have done. I mean, last cup is 2008, and you're winning that with Jonathan Woodgate's header. Like, we're not exactly going to be ever contending for like anything properly good. I mean, the Champions League final, from my perspective, was a bit of a fluke, to be honest. But you rely on Lucas Moura to put us into that.
This is why it's interesting, Tom, because with Postecoglou, whilst I concede that ENIC don't have the furtherance of Tottenham at the top of their agenda, whilst I concede Daniel Levy isn't necessarily the man that you want at the helm if your priority is to win silverware, Postecoglou has actually been backed. Like, where you could have a major gripe with the ownership would be when Mauricio Pochettino got you to a final and then you didn't buy anyone the following summer in order to go stronger and harder the following season. You spent literally no money in that summer. Like, that's ludicrous. But Postecoglou has been backed. He's been given time. He's been incredibly arrogant. He's made massive mistakes. Part of the reason that you're doing so badly is him. You've just been embarrassed in a semi-final of a League Cup at Anfield. You've then been kicked out of the FA Cup a couple of days later. You're flirting with relegation, whilst I do admit that you're not going to go down. And Ange Postecoglou, all the while, is telling you that you're going to win a trophy in his second season. It's him. He is the problem.
I don't think that he's still saying that we're going to win a competition. He's saying he does regularly win competitions in his second year. Now, I do concede that is the connotation of what he's saying. But having said that, I mean, you do have to look at the circumstances. I know other clubs have got injuries. I know other clubs have got injuries. I know other clubs are doing well. But 11 first team players out. Your biggest players out. The back line is
So what do you make
weak.
of the people that say that Ange's football style is kind of what's bringing along these injuries? Because a lot of people will look at that.
It is conducive. Yeah, of course it is. Of course it is. It's entertaining football, but again, you don't care about entertaining football.
Is
Is
it actually entertaining?
No, I'm
It's
saying
entertaining for
entertaining
neutrals.
football. I was just saying, it's entertaining football. It is entertaining football, but it's not fun when
But can
you get
I ask you,
banged. It
okay,
isn't.
against Aston Villa, this is, okay, winning the title, all these big trophies, you're not going to win them, of course. We will accept that. Aston Villa, it's a hard game. It's a winnable game. They're a club in a similar kind of stature to you. They want to win the FA Cup. You want to win the FA Cup. It's your final opportunity of a trophy this season, in my opinion. and then 30 seconds in, the ball gets played in behind Porro. You think, is that really down to injuries? Really? I mean, you were open from 30 seconds in against Aston Villa. You approached that game all wrong. You were shocking in that game, in my opinion. Tell scored a great goal. I get that. But the first 30 seconds, how you approach a big game against a master, a genius manager, arguably, in Unai Emery, you got that wrong. He got that wrong.
No, I agree, but also there's fuck ups from different players. Sorry if I can't swear, by the way. But there's cock ups from players individually. There's been so many cock ups this season. I mean, it's like players come to Spurs and then they forget how to play football, and it's not just this season. It's not just last season's either.
Do you know?
Like some form of like you can't the Kinski save. I mean, it should have been a save, right? It's gone straight at the keeper and it's gone into the back of the net. It does happen, but it doesn't rectify that.
It's Ange's transfer, innit? Ange signed him. Who signed him then? Who was it? His grandmother.
Right.
Who signed him?
It's not Ange's transfer, but equally, I mean, the managers of Spurs haven't had.
When you say
hand in
players get
transfers.
to Spurs and kind of turn into crap, what do you think that is? Like at United, I think a lot of them get there, and the culture of the club. Obviously, you've mentioned that before, and I think the pressure that's on players at Man United doesn't help them when they perform. So, what do you think it is about the players that join Spurs that end up?
I think it's just they get surrounded by 5-star royalty, man. Like, I mean, you got the amazing stadium, you've got the amazing training facilities, but there doesn't seem to be any desire to win anything. There's no pressure to win anything. Like, there just isn't. As much as fans we want them to win anything, there isn't any pressure to win anything.
Yeah, I think that is part of the problem, Tom. I think that the culture at the club is definitely rotten, and I think you could easily argue that won't change until ENIC are no more. But Postecoglou is getting it all wrong. And I really do appreciate your call, Tom. That was fantastic. Great insight there from Tom, wasn't it?
100%.
Yeah, you're welcome back on the show anytime.
Absolutely.
Come back, especially if you're going to call Rory a knob.
Yeah, no, and I wouldn't disagree with that. It's completely accurate. So the only correct thing you said. What do you think overall? Do you think I've been too harsh on Postecoglou?
I don't think you've been too harsh on Postecoglou because firstly, you're a Chelsea fan and you're kind of in a position where you should be ripping Spurs when they're not getting things right. I also think Ange Postecoglou going in there whilst like we heard Tom, it was Tom, wasn't it? We heard Tom suggest like the culture at the club and the demands aren't there for trophies and you need someone to change that. And when you've got a manager that goes in and goes, well, actually, I'm looking to win a trophy this season. I think that is refreshing, but then you're setting yourself up for downfall.
I tell you, you've just done exactly that. You've set yourself up for downfall. He's got a lot to say about Tottenham, but we're about to talk Manchester United with Lohit, the Manchester United fan.
What you mean, the mighty FA Cup winning Reds?
How are you, Lohit?
Not too bad. Yourself?
Yeah, very well.
Yeah,
thank
you, brother. Thank you for joining us.
Lohit, you're a Manchester United fan, correct?
Indeed, I am.
Unlucky.
How you feeling?
Well, can I just start by saying I absolutely love what you guys are doing on the club. Massive respect to you all.
That's
But
incredibly
I
kind.
need to
Thank
give
you.
a shout out. I need to give a shout out to the box office Buvey. I think you're truly the entertainer of the group. And mate, I know you're across the bridge, but if you're ever in Cardiff, drinks are on me for sure.
Oh,
Giving it out.
that's a very generous offer,
Even
mate.
though you're-
So what are the other two on the show then? If I'm the entertainer, what are the other two on the show?
The brains.
The insight. Yeah.
I think they know
Words
the football. Yeah.
You have a question, I hear.
I do indeed. I think it's how the season's panned out so far. Do you guys think it's a brilliant season and the teams outside the top six are closing the gap, or it's amplified because the top four have really dipped this season?
It's a good question
Great-
from
it's a
Lohit
great
there.
question.
Lohit, I really like that. I think it's a really interesting point for us to discuss.
He had me in the first half because when he goes, because we heard he was a Manchester United fan, he goes, well, has it been a great season? I was like, wait, whoa, what's
Yeah.
going
No,
on
I
here? But
think
he's talking about the general
removed-
strength of the league,
he's
right?
removed any kind of tribalism and just said, has it been a good Premier League season? Will we look back on this Premier League campaign as a good one?
Shall I put a case forward for why it is?
Oh, okay.
City don't win the title for the first time in 4 years. It opens up the door for an Arsenal, for if the ducks are the line for Chelsea, for Manchester United. These clubs had the opportunity. City slipped away in a way that we haven't seen before. Liverpool win their first title with fans in the stadium. I believe that's a massive thing. And then you look at Brentford, Brighton, Bournemouth, Newcastle, Villa. They're punching massively above their weight. I think it's been a fantastic
I'm
season.
not sure I agree.
I don't agree, no.
I don't either.
Whilst I
Lack
think-
of title race, man.
Yeah,
Yeah,
the lack
I
of a
know.
title race is massive. And like we looked at Arsenal over the last couple of years, and you would have thought if City drop off, then surely they'll be there. They will be there or thereabouts. And if there was a title race between Arsenal and Liverpool, you go, oh, exactly what you've just been saying. City have fallen away. Someone else can win it. Who's going to step up and take it? But without that, I don't really see it. But I agree in terms of the point of the bottom half of the table.
Yeah, that's elevated. What do you think, Lohit?
I personally feel this season is brilliant, and it's purely because you can see a bit of a trend forming where the teams outside the traditional top six are closing that gap. I mean, if you look at the examples of Forest were at third, Bournemouth, Newcastle, Villa, Fulham, Brighton and Brentford pushing to come in the top 10. And I don't personally go into all expected points, etc. But statistically, and even with the eye test, all of these clubs are outperforming this season.
Yeah, that's true. That is true.
Yeah.
Like Forest have projected 74 points this season. 3 years ago, they were in the Championship.
No, that's amazing.
That's incredible.
But do you not think that, generally speaking, I'm going like really basic here, the brilliance of a Premier League, memorable Premier League campaigns are either title races that go to the very last day, sometimes the very last minute, or relegation campaigns that go to the very last minute. Kieran Richardson, West Brom.
You haven't even got them.
We haven't got a relegation,
but we've got this weird middle ground where there's so much quality in the middle, and there's so many top level managers out of nowhere that are managing.
Yeah.
Marcus Silva's a top level manager. You got Hertz is fantastic.
What's the jewel in the crown of this season's Premier League campaign? The race for top four.
/ European positions from Bournemouth's perspective. I know Bournemouth are a small club. It's not
I think Forest and Bournemouth are the.
I just don't think it can go down as a great campaign.
I don't think it's a great campaign.
The excitement is who finishes fifth, not who goes down or who wins.
The excitement is seeing a club that a couple of seasons ago were in the Championship, League One, League Two, getting into potential Champions League European positions.
I agree with that.
That's a small thing compared to seeing a relegation battle. Brian Robson on a final day with West Bromwich Albion. We're not going to see that. But there is something in the middle that is quite interesting. And City's fall off did actually... on some level, we allowed everyone to have a title race and no one took it.
No, it's going to go down as one of the most memorable. I think so many things, like Manchester United, the form that they've been in, will live long in the memory. Manchester City's 9 defeats in 11 will live long in the memory. The form of Arne Slot, it's going to be a memorable season. And then it's the unpredictable. The brilliance of say, Unai Emery, the brilliance of Nuno Espirito Santo, the brilliance of Andoni Iraola. But I don't think it's going to go down as a classic.
No, not a classic. No,
it wouldn't be a Premier League years I'll be watching.
No,
too quickly.
No, is that fair? Do you think, Lohit?
I get the argument around it's not going to be a title run in, but let's be honest, if the City dropping off and Arsenal are never going to give Liverpool the run in to the title, I get that aspect of it. But if you think this is perhaps a start of something, maybe to build from next year, where the gap is further reduced and we have more top teams competing. I mean, if you look at the history of Premier League past 32, 33 years now, only 7 clubs have won the league. So with this new impetus, I mean, there's more resource being distributed. They have money power. All of these clubs are in the top 10 right now. Could they attract better talent, better coaches? I mean, Bournemouth is an example.
Yeah,
not everyone just copying Pep's guidebook and cheat sheet to say, "Oh, let's just set the team up."
See, that's a great point. That's a Lohit. Thank you so much for your call. You, sir, are also always welcome on the club. It's another great point, isn't it?
Great insight.
I think that's the interesting thing, isn't it? The Bournemouths, the Fulhams are great managers at kind of fairly innocuous clubs.
Because if they can continue to improve, and I know it's difficult once you get up there to stay up there. Like Newcastle dropped off when they got into the Champions League. Villa have dropped off a little bit. But to have 5, 6, 7 teams, which include like a Forest, Bournemouth going for Champions League, that would be great.
Yeah,
if you could have that, every other season.
I massively agree with that. Adam, this could be funny now.
Our
next caller is Dan from Southampton.
Shall we just leave Buvey to talk to?
Dan, you are on the club live, and Buvey's here, mate. Over to you.
Hello.
Hi, mate. How are you? That wasn't the greatest welcoming. You're assuming that I hate Dan because he's Southampton.
I'm assuming that Dan hates you.
That's what I thought as well.
Oh, you actually know about this? Oh, yeah. No beef against you. You just tried to stop us getting a 100-point season a few years ago.
Dan, am I correct in thinking? I'm totally projecting here. Maybe you're not. But in my head, you're just phoning up purely to have a go at Buvey.
I am not. No, I kind of wanted to...
Boo. Have you got another caller?
No, I mean...
He's sensible, Dan. He's sensible.
Go on, Dan.
I
Sorry,
think
you're on.
Southampton, Man City, similar size club anyway, I think.
Why are you laughing?
Yeah.
You're welcome back.
Takeover. You could be in our position right now. Yeah,
it's true. When Marianne Pahars was scoring, he would have certainly started for you. What's on your mind, Dan?
So Yeah, as I said, I'm a Southampton fan, unfortunately. And as a season ticket holder, I've experienced kind of firsthand the huge skill gap between the Premier League and the Championship.
Hmm.
And in my opinion, that gap is probably the biggest it's ever been, especially in my lifetime. You look at last season, all the promoted teams that came up were relegated. That's the first time that's happened since 1998. And it looks like the same thing will happen this season. Ipswich, Leicester, and Southampton probably all getting relegated. I mean, that's just the reality.
Yeah, it's
So the
interesting.
question I wanted
Dan.
to discuss, is why that gap is so big now, and are the FA to blame?
Just before we answer that, can I ask a slightly different questions to get your thoughts on that? Do you
Yeah, of
agree
course.
with Dan that the gap is that big? Because I find it slightly defeatist just to admit that it is when I see Nottingham Forest competing for the league.
I get the point he's making, and I kind of understand the point he's making, but there's so many teams now. Like, when would you have ever seen? And I know it's kind of a special circumstance, but like a manager got relegated to the Championship and Bayern Munich took him. I think that kind of shows you how high the levels can be down there in the Championship. You look at some of the teams. You mentioned Brighton, Bournemouth. Some teams that you traditionally consider Championship teams are making a go of it. And I think because of the money that's available in the Premier League, obviously, once you get there, you can stick around a little bit.
Yeah,
now.
also, Adam, not only that, if you think Nottingham Forest are competing for the Champions League, Aston Villa, who were recently in the Championship, are in the Champions League, doing well in the Champions League. Newcastle United were fairly recently in the Championship. They've recently been in the Champions League.
Are they
They're in the
outliers,
final.
though, because they're big clubs?
They're outliers.
So
Nottingham
no
Forest did was an
disrespect to
outlier.
No, but
What Nottingham Forest did was
Bournemouth
outrageous.
aren't an outlier. Fulham aren't
They
an
are.
outlier.
Well, I think Bournemouth are an outlier in terms of you're right when they first got promoted, but they spent hundreds of millions of pounds on it. They took Porto's striker for 40 million
You
pounds.
absolutely have to spend money.
Yeah.
But what
But Burnley
I'm
won't be able to
suggesting
do
is,
that.
but Leeds United will.
I don't know.
They've got the
Leeds have spent a lot
link
of
with
money,
San
fine.
Francisco.
But who's going to get promoted? Fine.
You
Leeds
have
United-
to
Leeds United.
spend money.
So who's going to get promoted this season from the Championship? Leeds United, strong contenders.
Leeds, Burnley,
Sheffield United, Sunderland. I think Sunderland and Burnley, Sheffield United all get relegated straight away again. If Blackburn make the playoffs, they're going to get relegated
Unless they
again.
come up with an aspirational owner in the way that Marianakis has done and spend some money like Aston
So
Villa.
they need an owner
They
that
got a
does
point deduction
crazy
for it.
things.
Oh,
Yeah, that's the thing as well. Leicester City struggle when
Also,
they came
hold
up.
on a minute. I know it's an anomaly, maybe. We just seen the bottom of the league in the Championship just beat the top of the league in the Premier League.
Yeah.
That's not to suggest Plymouth are set up for long-term success in the Premier League or would be. But it shows you like the level of coaching that you've now got down there.
So what do you think,
Massive.
Dan? Are you suggesting that if you go down this year, as it's looking like you will, you go down, are you suggesting that coming back up is almost futile because it's going to be impossible to stay?
Well, yeah. I mean, Southampton are a bit different. I noticed you said about Newcastle going down. These are all Premier League established clubs, so I'm not really talking about them.
But Southampton were
specifically.
that.
You mentioned, I know Southampton were that. I could say Southampton could stay up. They could go back down and stay up, and I believe they could potentially stay up again. But the only problem is I think we've got some dodgy owners who don't have any ambition. But when you said about Nottingham Forest, you forget Nottingham Forest actually got a point deduction last season. They could have gone down if it wasn't for the three promoted sides were just so bad that they went down anyway. Nottingham Forest got a point deduction for trying to spend money and escape the relegation.
Yeah, Dan, this is an interesting one. You know, obviously you go to St Mary's on a regular basis. You've got a season ticket. You've now seen your team play in both the Championship and the Premier League. Is there any joy in the Championship? On some level, do you... sometimes you hear Premier League fans and they go, God, I quite enjoy a year in the Championship. That always sounds like nonsense to me, but you've experienced both. What do you think?
I think as a club, you always kind of want your club to, I guess, do the best they possibly can. So I wouldn't say I'd rather be in the Championship than the Premier League. But as a fan, I definitely obviously had more fun last year than this year. I got to see some great moments. I think part of I'm not too sure. For me, it's kind of like if you're in the Championship, realistically, you're wanting to go back up. It's just you always know that you're most likely going to go back down. And I think the FA, with decisions like scrapping FA Cup replays, things like that, it's just almost another extra step to benefit the Premier League club and make it harder for the smaller clubs. And I'm not talking about Southampton because I don't believe Southampton is a small club. You look at other clubs lower in the division, like let's say like you mentioned Plymouth, things like that. An FA Cup replay, what was the one that Spurs went against earlier this season? Was it Tranmere or something?
Tamworth.
Tamworth, yeah. Tamworth. I mean, imagine they got a replay.
the issue is Southampton, they weren't equipped. They came up a little bit too early. I think that's fair to say. You justifiably are in the Premier League right now, but you were a little bit too underbaked. I think that's fair to say. The concerning thing is Ipswich have come up and given it a go. They spent a lot of money in the transfer market. They got a very, very exciting young manager, big stadium, big fan base. They're going to get relegated. They just lost to you, which I was so disappointed in. No disrespect to you. Then the other one is Leicester City. They won the Premier League 7 years ago. They won it 8 years ago. Do you know what I mean? They were in the Champions League 7 years ago, and they've come up. They got rid of Cooper. We can debate if that was right or wrong. They can't stay up either. So it's like if Leicester City, former Premier League champions in the last 10 years, and Ipswich, who are trying to be progressive and spend money, neither of them can stay in the Premier League this season. I don't think Southampton's the most depressing thing. Do you know what I mean? I think the other two are more depressing because they're bigger clubs.
What's going on at Southampton though? Because you used to have like such a proud record in terms of your academy players coming through. Is there not that anymore? I know you got Tyler Diblin there at the minute.
He's one of ours.
Is he?
He's one of our youth products. Yeah.
Don't sign him, please.
Yeah, but what is the issue at Southampton at the moment? Then do you think?
I hope Tyler Diblin doesn't go to Chelsea. I think that could ruin him. But
well, rather than being made at Southampton.
Yeah, but you look at the players that Southampton have produced over the years. Alan Shearer, Walcott, Mount Tissier.
Gareth.
I'd say he's in the best hands. Yeah,
Luke
of course.
Shaw.
Nathaniel Klein.
He's a good footballer.
Well, exactly. It's endless.
Endless.
Ricky Lambert.
But when it comes to the problem with Southampton, I think it is definitely our owners, Sports Republic. It's going to be 2 relegations in 3 years for them now. When we came up, I knew straight away we were probably going back down because you looked at, I think, the first few games, most of the players was the same team that came up, which we already, it's not as if we kind of took the league by storm, came up through playoffs, could have easily not come up at all. And they did not put enough investment in and not ambition in. And I think it's partly because, you look at some other teams, you try and spend and you spend all this money and you go back down. And you look at Luton. Luton are now are they in the relegation zone in the Championship?
They could get relegated.
Yeah, they could go down again.
Yeah, they could get relegated again. And they spent a lot of money when they came up, relative to their club, obviously.
Yeah, it's true. It is true, and I think you're right. There is a chasm, Dan. There is a chasm between the two leagues, but I don't think it's a healthy mentality for anyone to see it as being impossible. Like, always look at the likes of Fulham, the likes of Bournemouth, who have kind of made it work. But another great call there from Dan. Thank you so much, Dan. Yep. You are also always welcome on the club. Oh, God. We're going to talk Arsenal.
Oh, no.
Archie, the Arsenal fan, welcome to the club. How are you?
Yeah, I'm really good, thanks.
Are you going to tell us that you're in a title race?
I'm not going to tell you we're in a title race. I'm going to tell you that I think Arteta is having a better season this year than he is last season. I think he's performed better as a coach this year.
Okay. Can you, before we actually delve into that, can you quantify it? Why?
Because this year we've had a lot more things not going our way as such. I think the injuries haven't helped.
Yeah.
I don't think we've had our strongest squad out once this year. And I think it's really good that we're still in second place.
There is some truth in that. Last year, Arsenal were so lucky with injuries, weren't they? You had Declan Rice played virtually every game, Saliba virtually every game, Ben White virtually every game. Their main players were ever present. This year, it hasn't been that. But I'd also say that last year, Arteta, 89 points, second to Man City, so unlucky. The run in January to the end of the season. This year, I think that he's made quite a lot of mistakes.
I think the mistake started in the summer as well with the recruitment.
Yeah, I think you.
I just don't know.
Can I ask Archie, because I don't get this from Arsenal fan. I'm not entirely sure. Is he in 100% control of the transfers? Is it his fault that you were a little bit unambitious in the summer? Whose fault is it about the summer activity? Because I think a lot of the blame lies at that in the summer.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with the summer. I think all the stuff with Edu as well hasn't helped. I don't think that helped our January transfer window at all. I'm not sure the club knows where it's at in terms of the transfer policy now.
Yeah, but
it's easy, isn't it? Transfer policy. It's easy. It's an easy job.
Go and buy the best in class like you did with Declan Rice.
Fergie did it for years, and sometimes you get it wrong. You get a young kid. That's hard. To get young kid analysis in is very hard, and it's a risk always. But Fergie, Van Persie comes in, Andy Cole comes in.
Also, Arsenal's best signing in recent years was doing just that. Go and sign a best-in-class player.
Declan Rice from Barcelona.
Declan Rice. They needed a midfielder. They needed to strengthen their midfield. They went and they signed the best midfielder that was around at the time that they could possibly get hold of and spent the big bucks on him. It's
easier said than done. It's easier said than done, though, buying the best in class. Like, right now, I'd say looking at Isaac for Newcastle, yeah, you'd want him, but how much are you actually going to have to pay for a player like that?
100 more than you paid for Declan
yeah.
Rice.
And it doesn't help when you waste money on people like Kai Havertz, or does it?
Sterling.
Pepe.
No comment on the Kai Havertz.
Why no comment? Is it you don't rate him as well, or
He's useless.
The thing is, everyone wanted him to fly at Arsenal, and he's just just painful to watch.
I've
now.
seen it all before, sir.
Yeah,
I've seen it all before.
Do you pretend to your mates that he's good? Be honest.
Yeah,
'Cause I've got Arsenal mates that pretend to
no,
me he's good.
they all do that.
Do you pretend to your mates in the pub that he's good?
Yeah, definitely.
They
That's
all do.
embarrassing from you, Archie. I thought you were better than that, mate.
it's a new angle for this show. We could get people just admitting things.
Yeah.
Just
It's almost like a therapy session
Confessions,
with
isn't it?
Dr. Melfi. but
Make you feel like that Kai Havertz.
no, you do need. He's a very frustrating, infuriating footballer. But I think that on some level you are right. But here's something where I think Arteta has massively made a mistake. Where every time I watch Arsenal, which is virtually every game, it feels like we cover them, particularly when they're at home, every single game. And every time I see them, they look like a far better team when Thomas Partey is playing as a central midfielder. Partey, as a 6, makes Arsenal a better team. Partey, as a right back, makes Arsenal a worse team. And yet, Arteta will persist with not always playing Thomas Partey in his rightful position. So that would be a mistake that I can think of the top of my head that Arteta has made. Is that fair?
I feel like he's being forced to do that, though.
With the Ben White injury, you mean?
Ben White injury is massive as well. Because the whole right side's just in pieces.
He signed Calafiori. He got loads of defenders.
Yeah, but he's a left back, isn't he?
No, but I mean, at some point you've just got to be. At some point you've just got to say Thomas Partey is our best midfielder. He therefore plays in midfield in that position.
Yeah.
He makes the midfield better.
Yeah.
And then you accommodate elsewhere. You ask Calafiori to maybe play on that side. You ask maybe you ask Lewis Skelly to play on that side. You know, he's not a natural left back anyway. So I feel like there are options, but taking Thomas Partey out of that midfield certainly doesn't do Arsenal any favours, and that is a Mikel Arteta decision.
Yeah, true.
What do you think then this season, Archie? Where are Arsenal going to finish? Are you dreaming of European silverware? Out the FA Cup, out the League Cup? It can only be Premier League and European Cup, can't it?
Yeah. Well, I like to be completely deluded and think Liverpool are going to step up at some point.
I'm with you on that one, hoping and praying.
Yeah, it'd be brilliant to see, but I think we'll finish second and probably reach the semis of the Champions League.
Semis.
I mean, yeah.
What's wrong with that?
Everything, mate.
Not a chance to get semis.
There's about 5 other sides better than you.
What's the run?
Well, any European side with more pedigree than you will beat you.
We will find out.
What happened last season? Bayern Munich.
Yeah. There's a penalty first leg.
You should have gave them a penalty in the first leg. Remember that when he handballed it?
Neuer wiped out Saka, didn't he, at the end?
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Another fantastic call there from Archie. Archie, we really do appreciate it,
mate.
Lads, what do you two think regarding the points that Archie's raised there? So, let's explore Arsenal this season. I actually think that Arteta's done a good job this year. I think he's done a good job since he's been there. But I think the jewel in the crown of the Arteta reign was actually last season. I don't think he's been as good this season as last. No. Do you think I'm correct,
he's gone
or do you think Archie?
I think something happened where he's trying to get a balance between being a little bit more pragmatic, let's say, not negative necessarily, but a little bit more pragmatic, a little bit more defensively sound, and the pendulum just swung up too far.
Yeah, like a Marino signing, nobody creative. Odegaard gets injured, there's no creativity.
You buy
left.
more fullbacks, more centre backs. You mentioned the investment and the recruitment there, buying the best in class. When you buy Havertz, it's almost like a vanity sign. Like, I will make him better than what Chelsea were doing with him. Like, there was never any real sense in that signing. And look, I think he's done okay. But for the amount, he has done okay.
It's just okay, though.
But for the money you've spent and the player that you wanted and the profile of player that you needed, Kai Havertz was never it.
No, I do agree with that. Also, remember they signed him to be a midfielder. He was bought in to replace Granit Xhaka, which was wild.
Now he's replaced Jesus.
And
now Declan Rice has kind of replaced where Kai Havertz would have played, like in the midfield.
Yeah.
No, what's Declan Rice's
They
future?
threw their principles away of attacking football. The one season they needed it was this season. There's an opportunity there to outscore people. You'd be top of the table right now.
Yeah, it's true. From one title contender to, the champions of the Premier League. Is it fair to announce Liverpool as Premier League title winners? Liam, you are live on the club. You're a Liverpool fan. Are you champions?
Yes, Liam.
Hopefully.
Can't see a world where you're
Touch
not
wood.
now, surely, can you?
Well, we played like we did against Plymouth. Then
I think that's
potentially
good
could
for you,
throw it
though.
away.
Going out the cup's good news for you.
Carragher
Yeah,
was trying to say
I
this
think
the
so.
other day. I don't see it.
Never
you know.
good losing to Plymouth Argyle.
You got to keep the momentum going.
It's never good losing to Plymouth Argyle, but you can benefit going out of the
I
cup.
know what you mean. Yeah.
I think he made too many changes.
Yeah, I mean, he did make a lot of changes. There's no doubt that Arneslot had to make changes, but equally, you can understand why. They played Tottenham 3 days earlier. They had to batter them 4-0 in order to get to the League Cup final. 3 days later, they're going to play the last ever derby at Goodison Park.
Yeah.
You can understand why there was rotation in a game at home park.
I've seen it on Twitter with Liverpool fans. Do you know how much money was on that pitch against Plymouth Argyle? You
Doesn't
got
matter.
Nunes, Jota, Diaz, Quansah, Endo,
Elliot.
Kelleher.
Yeah, but a lot of the
Bradley,
players,
Elliot.
there were 2 players playing, if I'm completely honest, that I'd barely heard of.
Yeah,
Then there were
that's
2
it.
more players who I'd barely
but
heard of that came on.
Yeah,
Plymouth had 11 players that you've never heard of.
Yeah.
Yeah, but they're their first teamers. I know what I mean is I know Liverpool players. I could name Liverpool's first and second team, and yet they were still bringing on players that I barely knew
Yeah.
to just demonstrate.
Plus, they
quite
had to
how
be managed by Wayne Rooney for 6 months, and they still got the win.
Whoa.
I'm so glad he wasn't there for that.
That's what we're.
But what was your question, mate? Sorry, we interrupted you.
No, it's all right. It's absolutely fine. So my thing is, yeah, and it's not just your channel, which I actually love, guys. By the way,
It's about to. The fact that he said that
all
scares me.
across media, really. Why is it that everyone seems to put CR7 in every single Premier League all-time 11? I don't get it. I never will understand it. Nah, Grant Adam, just to be honest with you, mate, all-time 11, he's in it. 100%. One of the greatest players to ever play football. But Premier League, no thank you.
I'll tell you why he's in a Premier
3
League
good
all-time
seasons,
11.
which is his last 3 seasons.
I'll tell you why he's in a Premier League all-time 11. 40 goals, Ballon d'Or, European Cup, Premier League in one season.
Did he do enough? Did he do enough over a long, like when we do Premier League 11s, though, just to explore the point that Liam's.
And he
Well, it was
and he
human
done-
when
and
he
he
come in,
done-
that's what Adam will say.
and he
It was
done
when
a
he come in, that's
three-peat.
fine.
He done a three-peat as well, three in a row.
Is
Premier
he
League
a
titles.
better
while
Premier
being
League? Is he a
being
better
main
Premier
player.
League legend? Just talking strictly Premier League, just to explore it, than say David Beckham in that position.
It depends on what you mean by legend. Like,
Do you see what I
he
mean?
won
by
the
Liam's
Ballon
point,
d'Or.
though?
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, but
He won the Premier League 3 times in a
often
row.
Talk about David Beckham being
I was
being robbed.
picking
of
a
the
Man
Ballon d'Or.
United 11. David Beckham would be in for me.
Cristiano
Like, when I watched the
Ronaldo. Nah,
video
Cristiano
the other day
Ronaldo.
with the Arsenal, Turkish, I'd put Beckham in.
David
But I don't
Beckham's
know
my
if because
favourite
my
player
age, I
of
mean,
all
I'm so-
time, but he can't. Cristiano
always remember
Ronaldo was a
his
freak.
Greece, one of the greatest goals ever, right?
Mm.
David Beckham. I'm not saying that Ronaldo isn't better than Beckham. Of course he is. But if you're talking in the Premier League, Beckham was just like an icon.
Yeah, I
but
don't think
Ronaldo's
it's
a better
crazy.
player in every
Speak on
regard.
Beckham too much.
But was
People
Beckham
sleep on him.
was
I'm a Liverpool fan. I don't want to admit this.
Liam, I think it's an interesting point you raised because whether I agree or disagree, I'm not sure, but I definitely
How about
understand
this
what you're
for a
saying.
point, look?
Is Cristiano Ronaldo's famous moments, all of the virtually all of his crowning glories, do not come in the Premier League
But
era.
no, a lot of them do, though.
yeah, they
a lot
do.
of them do.
Some of them do.
You think of the goal at
Some,
Craven
but not-
Cottage, the
not
goals
the
against
most,
Portsmouth,
obviously.
Do you hear this though? The goal at Craven Cottage, the goal
the
at
goals
Portsmouth.
against Arsenal in the
Portsmouth,
Champions
I
League,
remember.
Yeah, of course you remember
These
them,
players,
but his
I-
moment was it becoming Real Madrid's
his
greatest
goal
ever
against
player.
Porto. No,
But that's
there's
how
so
good he
many
was as a
different
player. He could
moments
have two
from
peats.
Cristiano Ronaldo. And like, if we're gonna, let's say Thierry Henry for me is in most people's 11s, right, and rightly so, iconic player. Cristiano Ronaldo won as many league titles of him in that time, and he was a spearhead of that team.
And Ronaldo reached a higher level as
And
an
he won
individual
and he
than
won a
Henry.
European Cup.
Ronaldo was better than Henry as an individual player in the Premier League. In
Oh,
my
I don't
opinion.
think that's true.
He
I
did
think
far
that's
more.
I don't think that's true.
Ronaldo's the best player in the history of the Premier League, in my opinion. His star burnt very, very short, and you're right about that, mate. But it's like, Jimi Hendrix passed away when he was 27. He's still a legend in rock music for the rest of his life. Do you know what I mean? Ronaldo had 3-4 years where I've never seen someone do that in the Premier League ever.
Is it better than doing it for a decade though?
But Beckham didn't shine in the same way. Beckham wasn't the best player by a country mile in the Premier
There's
League in the
two
same way
players that
Ronaldo
I've
was.
wrote down, yeah,
Go
that
on.
nobody ever puts in the Premier League all-time Premier League 11 for midfielders. And none of us would, because one of them's got David Silva, Kevin De Bruyne, one of you's got Lampard, and one of you's got Paul Scholes or Roy Keane. But there's two players that never get mentioned, and they went on to lead the Premier League and did really, really well. One of them won a World Cup in the Euros. His name's Xabi Alonso. The other one's called Luka Modric.
Javi Alonso
Two of the
wasn't ever the
greatest
best player in the
midfielders
club that he
ever.
played for, though. Javi Alonso wasn't even the best player at his team, let alone the best
No,
player.
he wasn't. But he went on and he won a World Cup in one of the, in fact, I'd say the greatest midfield of all time with Xavi and Iniesta.
That's true.
He won
But that's
every
when he
league
left.
title. Well, exactly. Well, that's fair enough.
You've got to
What I'm
remember,
saying
Rafael
is,
Benitez tried to get rid of him to sign Gareth Barry.
My point being is players leave the Premier League and they've gone on to do bigger and better things, e.g. those two.
Yeah, those two did great
Modric
things.
won nothing at Tottenham, not like Gareth Bale. That's another player
won a League
left the
Cup.
Premier League.
But the reason we wouldn't put Modric or Xabi Alonso into a Premier League 11, obviously they're great players and they went on to do great things after, is because they didn't have any great... Ronaldo had great moments in the Premier League.
All right, what about Luis Suarez then?
Luis Suarez, if people want to argue for him to be in the 11, I'm happy to hear it. Because
It's hard because he never won it, though.
You have to win the trophy, don't you? He's won 3 in a row. 3 in a row.
Michael Owen, Golden Boot.
He never won it. Michael Owen never won the Premier
he
League.
had a Ballon d'Or, though.
Which
He
I think
was-
matters.
he
We're
was
talking about the
phenomenal.
highest
Premier League
level.
with Man
How can you do the Premier League
unfortunately.
11 without a guy playing up front on the left who's never won the Premier League title? Luis Suarez is nowhere near the best 11. Nowhere near. Goals against Norwich City.
I feel like,
Some of
you know,
those
if someone wants
defenders
to, if someone wants to put Suarez in the 11, I can kind of
Really?
hear it, you know.
He never won the title.
But
He's playing for Roy Hodgson.
he was
It
phenomenal.
was that season. But where I will always put Luis Suarez, you know, if you ever want to discuss single best seasons.
Yeah.
So Haaland has changed the conversation a bit with that season that he had when he first arrived. But what I always used to think was the best single season I've ever seen. Like I'd always argue that Jose Mourinho for the best manager over one season. I think you could easily argue that Luis Suarez, that one season, do you remember? He bit Branislav Ivanovic at Anfield late in the season. He was banned because of that. I think he got a 10-game ban. He missed 3 games one season, and then the opening 7 games the next season. He missed 7 games, and then he won the Golden Boot. He missed.
I'd argue it'd beat Ireland's goal record if he didn't miss them games.
What happened at Selhurst Park?
If he didn't miss them games, he would have won. He would have won
No,
it.
but I'm
Trust
asking
me.
you an honest question. I've forgotten. What happened with Luis Suarez at Selhurst Park?
He started crying out pigs.
Yeah, I thought that. It was a rhetorical
Do you know what
question.
I've forgotten? What happened in Porto with Sergio Aguero?
Why are you bringing that up?
I just wondered. I've forgotten.
Well, you parked the bus and you nicked a Champions
He'd be
League.
crying tonight when
Congratulations.
Real Madrid beat you, lad.
Fair enough, man. Fair enough.
That's a fantastic
Can't say
goal,
even
Liam.
Liverpool fan.
Liam.
I love Ronaldo to bits as a player, but to me, he doesn't get in an all-time Premier League 11. Man United, you've got a debate, Adam, I suppose. I suppose if you're doing an all-time Man United 11, the players including that you haven't seen, maybe he might not get in that one. Who knows? But Premier League all-time 11, there's only one man, and you 3 know him. His name's Mo Salah. He's on the right wing, 100%.
He's won
And when
one
he gets his
title, no one
Ballon
saw it
d'Or,
live.
when he gets his Ballon d'Or,
There was no one in the stadium.
gonna be
everything
2,
then,
innit?
hasn't he?
Were you-
Everything that Ronaldo's got, just not as much.
Liam, we're going to leave you there. That was fantastic. He's got everything that he's got, just not as much of it.
I've got everything Bill Gates has got, just not as much.
Good luck tonight, movie. You're going to need it.
Cheers,
Nice
mate.
one, Liam.
Thank
Appreciate you,
Liam.
brother.
That's amazing.
Bye.
I think it's
These
an
calls
interesting
have been
point he
good.
made there. The calls have been great.
No, I've
The
been
OGs of the
hesitant
club.
thinking 1 out of 10 calls are going to be
No,
like...
these are fantastic. Do
We've
you know
had
what's
back-to-back-
interesting about Liam's one there? What do you think? Do you think there is a time frame? So say Erling Haaland, say you believe Erling Haaland should be in the Premier League greatest 11. Could you do it based on one season?
No. If he had a season like Suarez where he carried the ball, he's scoring from 40 yards, then maybe.
What's
'Cause
the minimum?
aesthetic
The
quality
way we
isn't
can
there.
do this is we can bring up Yapstam.
3 seasons.
Because Yapstam didn't have many seasons, won the treble.
Mm.
And like, in my opinion, he could be the best centre-back the Premier League's ever had. Like, just based on how good he was.
I don't know.
But he wouldn't. You wouldn't really pick him over Rio
top
and
10?
Terriers. Oh, bro.
Top 10
Who's
United.
Stam?
He's an incredible.
10 Premier League of all
incredible
time.
Yeah,
centre-back.
I think Stam could easily. I think he'd
I know what
probably
you're
be.
saying,
I think
I-
he'd definitely. I mean, he'd definitely be in my top 10. He might be in my top 5. I always find it very difficult to overlook Sol Campbell.
Yeah, so Campbell.
I always
It gets
find it very
with
difficult to
defenders, it
overlook
gets
Tony
tricky.
Adams.
It gets tricky with defenders
But
because they're doing
is there a
different job.
minimum time? Could you, in theory, could this happen? Somebody lands, plays one season in the Premier League, and goes into a Premier League all-time 11. Is that possible?
If
So
they
say
had
Haaland had left.
If
So
they
you have
had
to
the
win the
season
treble.
Ronaldo had, Premier League, European Cup, Ballon d'Or, I think, yeah.
So Haaland
Haaland was
Haaland
near
I
won
that.
thought Haaland should have
won
got
a
the
treble.
I thought he should have got the
Haaland
Ballon
won the
d'Or that
treble,
year.
scored 52 goals in a single season.
he'd left,
and
could he
no
be
one
in the-
talks about him being in the best. So that's interesting. He
I
literally
think
did
that's
as
because
close as
of-
we've just said. He did
Yeah,
that.
he did it.
He
Yeah.
came second in the Ballon d'Or, didn't he? Or
Is
third?
that because of
It's because
the
he's not
kind of player
aesthetic.
he- yeah,
It's 'cause
yeah.
he wasn't. Ronaldo used to do things I've never seen on a football pitch.
It's-
That's why he's there. He has to
But
be.
then it doesn't always work like that either. I think it's bigger because Wayne Rooney had all of the unpredictability. But I think because Cristiano Ronaldo had that, he's got this majesty around him, hasn't he? He's got this like.
I think it was more
you
than
know
that.
with Cristiano
I think he had the
Ronaldo
skill
though,
set.
he ticks all the like with some people that have only been there for a season or 2 or 3 or whatever. You go, oh yeah, they've done that, but they haven't done that. they've done that, but they haven't done that. There's always something missing. Ronaldo ain't got
He was the
anything
perfect
missing.
footballer, Rory, wasn't he?
His
He was the
goal
perfect
catalogue's
footballer.
amazing. He's one of the best players in the position he's played in. The amount of goals he scores was incredible.
In the air.
In the air,
excellent in
free
the air.
kicks, penalties, whatever you want.
Who do you think's better out of curiosity? Do you think Cristiano Ronaldo is the best footballer to have ever lived?
No, Messi's better than him.
Messi.
But Ronaldo's either second or third behind Maradona or above Maradona.
So
For me,
is that how it would go for you?
Messi's first by a country mile.
So there's a chasm between Messi and Ronaldo in your opinion?
In my opinion. But Ronaldo's so close, man. He had 2 peaks. He had 2 world-class peaks.
Sorry,
One
when
at
you
Man
say
United,
so
one at Real
close,
Madrid.
so close to Messi.
Like he's really close, but Maradona, Pele, all these guys in and around, and Messi's above all of them. That's how I see it.
Right. See, it's interesting because you seem to rate Ronaldo actually higher than I do. But I'm saying that
Where do you rank him then? Top
5 of all time.
Of all time?
Of all time, top 5.
So not 3?
No, because I think I'll always think that what Maradona did is up there. Do you know? And I think that we're weirdly weird, like modern day fans are weird about Pele. Don't quite know why.
Yeah.
Like, you know what Pele did at 17?
Yeah, that's
17.
outrageous, yeah. It is outrageous.
He's a child, and he went to Sweden, won the first ever World Cup. I think he scored a hat trick in the semi-final,
Crazy,
goal
crazy.
in the final.
3
Like-
World Cups on it.
3, yeah, like so. I'll always say Pele, Maradona. I love the videos of Van Basten,
Van Basten, Cruyff.
R9 will always be my personal goal.
Ronaldinho always deserves a mention here.
Did you hear the other day? I forgot who it was now. He said he ranks Neymar higher than Ronaldinho.
Oh, that's disgusting.
Oh,
That's
who was it?
disgusting.
I mean, there isn't anyone.
It was a
that-
player
That's
that
disgusting.
played with him.
Oh, a player said.
Yeah.
No, but Neymar isn't better
Might have
than
been Romario.
Ronaldinho.
No, he's nowhere near.
He's just not. Like, that just can't be true. We should probably go back to the phone line, shall we? See
Yeah,
what
I agree,
else is going on. Shall we go to Beniv, the Manchester United fan?
Ben, that's definitely says Benji.
Yes. Yeah, lads.
Russian.
Are you illiterate?
He's got Russian.
Are you illiterate back there? Beniv.
This is Benji, that.
So
Okay.
what's on your mind, Benj?
Are you topless in your
Yeah,
picture?
well,
on
Benny, why am I
Discord?
looking at your naked torso here? Could you put some clothes on, Benny?
No, it's
Benny Benassi.
just some nice holiday pic.
What is that? Just you and your missus? Mate, we don't
What,
want to see
Ibiza?
that.
Ibiza.
It's just a mirror selfie of you and your missus
Nah.
naked.
Benji was in Ibiza, 100%.
Just Spain.
Yes, told you.
Where were you?
No, not
Marbella.
Ibiza. No.
Marbella.
Not Ibiza. No.
Benidorm.
I think it was. I don't even know where it was.
You don't even know.
Benidorm.
Wasn't that memorable, was it?
Oh, yeah.
Mate, what are you doing then? So I know that you want to talk football, but I'm more interested. What's the story behind the photo?
It's him and his missus, man. Leave him
Wasn't
alone.
it? It's just a
naked?
mirror pic of the. No, not naked.
That's naked.
You look naked on
I
the
had
on
trunks
screen.
on.
He's
like,
defo
swim
not got
attire.
trunks on.
There's definitely no clothes.
No, I
right?
do. I swear.
Okay, so I suppose we should talk football here.
You got Buvey zooming in, by the way. I'll be
But
worried
you're
about
naked
you.
on your
Oh,
WhatsApp.
God.
Man. I'll get rid of that.
Right, Benji, what's going on?
So, I've came to discuss what I think is the real reason why United have had such a downfall, especially the past couple of seasons. I've seen a lot of fans online and like wind-up merchants like Buvey trying to say he should change his tactics and sack Amorim and he's worse than Ten Hag and all this, but that's all bollocks. I think the real reason was when like the Glazers basically denied that Qatar bid and allowed 25% stake of INEOS to be in charge with the Glazers. I think this was a lot worse than what people thought at the time. And I've got a couple points that I'll highlight for you guys to discuss if you want. I think the main one was they've messed up about getting Amorim in now instead of the summer. Like he wanted to join the summer so he could get his players in and all that. And the second one, I do not think that Ratcliffe has enough money really to be doing this. I think they're kind of skint, and with the Glazers above them, they're going to be trying to get a lot of money to put in their own pockets as well. So I think this rebuild is going to be very, very long.
Well, how long you got? You know, we're in 2025 now. I don't think you may win a major title for at least the 2030s.
It's interesting about that INEOS point because I saw. Did you see INEOS are being sued?
By Mercedes, is it?
No, by the New Zealand rugby.
New Zealand, that's it, yeah.
New Zealand rugby.
Yeah, I saw that today actually. Yeah, I saw that today.
Yeah.
So you saying that all the issues are because you didn't get a Qatari takeover and that you've got a manager that has got these same points averages as Ten Hag?
I think it's like a domino effect happening because of that awful Ten Hag transfer window. Then you brought INEOS in, who've had a decent transfer window to be fair, but I don't think they have the money to keep rebuilding this squad, and we keep getting further and further away from the likes of even just like Bournemouth, Fulham, and that.
I think a lot of the big issues, like on the Amorim thing, I kind of agree with you. Bringing him in the summer would have been probably the optimal move. But I also think, you know, when you bring a manager in the summer and you all go out to America and the players are all just been on holiday, I think it's easy for players to fool managers in the summer into thinking, well, actually, they can contribute something. So I actually like the idea that he's now getting to learn about these players while the actual nitty gritty of a season's going on, because there's no chance to really fool him. I think it's easy to be fooled in the summer when you go away with someone on pre-season. So I get your point and I agree with your point, but I'm kind of glad it's happening this way because of the fact we need to get rid of players. On the INEOS thing, I never wanted us to be state-owned, so I'm glad that we didn't get state ownership. I understand that would have been easier for us to make deals happen and all that kind of thing. But I genuinely believe when INEOS took the percentage that they did, and I'm sure they would have done their due diligence, I don't think they realised how bad the financial situation was and how much their hands would have been tied. And I think I've disagreed with a lot of the moves they make, raising ticket prices and removing concessions. I thought was a disgrace. I think like taking the bonus away from like stewards and stuff, which is like 50 quid, I think it is baffling. But a lot of these decisions are rooted in the fact that they need to readdress the money that's being spent in order so that we can improve in terms of recruitment and bringing players in the summer. I think it's difficult for them to just pump money in when you haven't got ownership of the club.
But on your point,
as
I
well.
mean, wouldn't you do an audit? If you were going to buy a company, any company, wouldn't you audit to see if it's making money or not? Surely they would have had a deep and an intrinsic understanding.
They
if
would have had
losing
some
money.
understanding, but until
You
you
don't
get
buy
into
Man
somewhere-
United and think, oh, well, suddenly we can't afford it anymore. It's like these guys
Well,
are
it's
business
like-
people, aren't
It's
they?
like when you go view a house to buy it.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, everything looks fine. Then you buy it and you're like, oh fuck.
Yeah,
the
maybe
roof,
the
the roof
sink's
needs
gone
doing,
down to a couple
or-
hundred quid. But
Yeah.
you don't buy a house for 200 grand. There's £1 million hole in the roof. Do you know what I mean? It's like there's a massive issue here. There's something non happening at Manchester United. You're going backward.
Are you worried at all, Benny? Are you worried about?
Yeah.
I think we
I
have to
think-
go backwards to go forwards, though. To be fair,
I think this could, if we don't like take this carefully, we could end up just being like a bottom of the crop table team for quite a while, because the only thing that's saving us right now is how bad the Championship teams coming up actually are. Like, we could have really been in a relegation battle with
It's a
Spurs.
Man United fan,
Are
eh?
you
this
are you
season.
worried at all, Benji? Just you know in terms of the way that Amorim's been speaking, does that chime with you? Do you like the way that he's been speaking, like hanging the players out to dry, saying it's the worst Manchester United team of all time? Do you think that's okay, or are you slightly troubled by the way that he's conducted himself?
I think that's spot on from him, to be honest. I think Ten Hag was absolutely awful at that side of the game, really, of like manager conferences and all that. I actually think that Amorim's a lot better at it, and I think he's done well with getting certain players out and getting the wage bill out, which, again, it is kind of a credit to INEOS, which is one of the good things they have done. But I just think this noise around them of like with that All Blacks thing and stuff like that, it's not a very good
you
sign
sound
in
like
terms
you
of
need
money.
cheering up, yeah. And I'm an eternal optimist, so I'm going to try and do that. Listen, Benji, you know what you need to realize? I've got a feeling, yeah, that we are making, over the last 2 or 3 years, we have made a lot of cutbacks in terms of wages. We've got rid of the likes of Ronaldo, Varane, Anthony Martial, etc., etc. Marcus Rashford's going to be going. Casemiro's going to be going. All these players with huge wages are going to free up a lot of room in our wage bill. Now, whether we've got the transfer fees to put up is another story. But I think we will be in a position to make a few more signings than a lot of us are imagining in the summer. Because I do think a lot of this stuff needs to be done now, and it's like going backwards to go forwards in order for us to do the recruitment. And when you look at the recruitment they have made since they've got here, investing in young players and that kind of thing, I think it shows there could be a brighter future ahead, but it's going to take a while.
I totally agree. I totally agree
Call
with
in
that
in
because
2030, mate, and we'll do an update, Benji.
Yeah, it's a
mate.
fantastic call.
Mate, we're going to win the league next
Fantastic
season.
call, Benji.
Don't listen to them. We're going to win the league next season, all right?
Put some clothes on.
we got the FA Cup. Buvey's going to get humbled by Plymouth, so it's fine.
This has been so much fun. Thank you to everybody who's got involved. We really do appreciate it. There was also an opportunity for you to send us in some voice notes, and a fair few of you have been doing those. Callum sent us one. Let's listen to what Callum had to say.
Hey guys, I'm Callum and I support Liverpool. I was just wondering, is Ryan
It's like being
Gravenberch
at
the
an
best
AA meeting.
improvement from one season to another in the recent years in the Premier League? if he isn't, who do you think's been better
Ooh.
from one season to the next?
Great question.
Absolutely love what you're all doing.
Most
Keep it
improved
up.
player. I think he is this season for sure, Ryan Gravenberch.
Great
And especially
question.
I think it's testament to Arne Slot as well. Because when everyone goes, they haven't got a player to play in that 6, and he goes, well, actually, I have.
He managed.
and I'm
he
gonna
managed the
turn him
situation.
into.
Yeah. He did it with Cody Gakpo as well.
Yeah. Who has been the most improved player season by season?
Harry Maguire.
No.
He's been good. No, he's been good.
For who?
You.
He's not the most.
No, but he's
What are
full.
we saying this season?
I'm just trying to think of
No, in
players.
general, like over the years, that have
over the
changed
years.
quickly.
Wow.
Uh,
What about Ronaldo? Because he went from right to world class, didn't he?
After 06 to 07.
Like he was a solid winger, and then he went out of nowhere to like being the best player in the league. That was Gareth Bale. That's a big one.
Bale?
Oh, yeah, the Bale run. Remember the Bale run?
Yeah,
He
came
was
out of
lost-
nowhere.
Yeah. Bale.
Came out of nowhere.
Yeah, that could be interesting, but I'm not sure I can think of a player being almost like totally reimagined in the way that Gravenberch has. He was on the periphery, both at Liverpool and at Bayern, and suddenly,
He's outrageous, isn't he?
yeah, I can't. I'm not sure I can think of that. Can you think of anyone that?
Salah. He wasn't rated when he first came into the Premier
No,
League.
but since he landed, that first season he had. Do you remember scoring at
But I'm
Vicarage
saying from
Road?
Roma to yeah, within the Premier League, you're right, yeah. But I'm just saying from
If he went
Roma
from
to Liverpool.
Chelsea's form, Salah, to Liverpool's, you could.
yeah,
that would be it, but- I'm trying to think. Is there a player that has played for either of your clubs? that
What
you can
about the
think
other
of?
way?
What, that's gone from being brilliant? Oh, mate, I've got one. I've got one the other way. Edouard Mendy had 6 months where he was the best goalkeeper in the world, and then went to being the worst.
What
goalkeeper.
happened?
I think he was the opposite of some good players. They go out of form. So like really really good footballers. Thierry Henry, for example, had a dry spell. Sergio Aguero, for example, would have had a dry spell.
Yeah.
Didn't go his way. I think that Edouard Mendy was the opposite. He was a very average goalkeeper who just had this mad purple patch. Rather than being a brilliant goal scorer that just like, has a dry patch.
Yeah.
He just like found
Keepers are weird.
'cause
When they go, don't they?
he won the European Cup with us. He won international silverware. Like he just did it all. I think he got a Ballon d'Or nomination, didn't he?
Yeah, he did. Yeah,
It's like
he did. Yeah.
amazing, amazing. Should we listen to what Aidan has to say? He's also sent us a voice note.
I'm Aidan. I'm an Arsenal fan. In my opinion, is that Vinicius Jr. would have been the worst player to ever win the Ballon d'Or had he won it last year. And even 5, 10, 15 years ago, he wouldn't have been near the top fucking 10, never mind winning it.
That's an interesting
I agree
one.
with the second part of it, but we have seen like Cannavaro winning it still doesn't sit right with me.
Did Buffon win it?
No.
No,
No,
I
keepers not
think he
won it
was
since
second.
Lev.
He was second
He was
that year. I
second,
think.
yeah.
Or Henry was second and Buffon
But
was third.
Cannavaro was
Yeah.
an artist of what he did.
No, Cannavaro was an elite centre back, but he should never
Not
have been
bad.
winning a
Yeah,
Ballon d'Or.
yeah.
He's not a
Fine,
better
yeah.
footballer than Vinicius Jr. Like he's a better defender, but it's whether you get your buzz out of being a defender. I think it's very difficult. Purely speaking for me, I just don't find that kind of artistry, the artistry that inspires
Yeah.
me for football.
Jorginho once won it. No, top three.
Third.
He got
I mean,
third,
that was the
didn't
day that the Ballon d'Or became nothing.
Yeah, but it was
wasn't
a joke, wasn't it?
That
Then
was-
Rodri won it, and it's gone back to being a serious honour.
You Wally.
What the fuck is that name?
Mancox FC next.
That's your five-a-side team name, innit?
Fantasy.
Right, here we go.
Hi, so this is Mancox FC, and I'm just wondering where you see Spurs in a year from now and where you see United in a year from now. Do you think there'll be a rebuild at each club, or do you see them keeping their managers? I see Postecoglou out of the club, and Amorim has a chance, but it's still a bit iffy. Not too sure what's going to happen there.
In a year, Spurs will be in the Europa League spots with a different manager, and Man United will be in the top 4 with Ruben Amorim.
Totally disagree with that.
I'm Ruben Amorim in. That's for sure.
Are you Mancox in?
I want to play for the Mancox FC. Fuck you. I'll play left back.
Interesting.
Left back in the changing room. with
Honestly,
Mancox.
every caller here is Ruben Amorim in. Trust me.
This has been fun. I've enjoyed it.
Make sure you join the Discord
By the
server.
way, Mancox FC. What?
Yeah, what? That's not
We're in
real.
the 21st century. There's nothing
I
wrong
think-
with that. They might be a top 5 side.
Would you play for them?
Yeah, left back. I just said that.
Would you?
Left wing back.
Would you?
Yeah, Marauding left
They
wing
don't.
back.
They don't want a man who says he's done his ACL when you go behind. Though.
Mm.
I still never forgive you for that.
Well, this has been emotional. Thank you so much to everybody for getting involved. We really do appreciate it. And make sure that you join our Discord in order to be
Do you know what
part of the
Discord
next
is, yeah,
show.
bro?
Not exactly, no. But I know it's very important to this show. We endorse it entirely. And thank you so much to them. Thank you so much to Sky Bet. Make sure that you join our Discord.